Okay, guys, welcome back to lesson number 3 of the Altfin's education program. Today we'll cover one of my favorite and I think one of the easiest trading strategies, which is buying the dips in an uptrend. So we'll look for ways to find coins that are in an uptrend and at the same time are experiencing a pullback. And we'll try to identify the support and resistance areas for us to buy that pullback, with the assumption that the trend will continue as it usually does if we catch the trend in a relatively early stage. Now let's review some of the things that we learned in the lesson 2. If you recall, in lesson 2 we talked about trend trading. What is trend trading? How do we identify a trend, and so on. Recall that trend trading is really what is recommended for really beginner and intermediate traders. Frankly, most traders of any level of experience prefer to trade with trend as opposed to against the trend, because it increases your chances of success. The way you identify trends is either visually, you look at the chart and see that there is a series of higher highs and higher lows. All of this was covered in lesson 2. You can also use our platform and tools to find coins that have an up or strong up rating across the short, medium, and long-term time horizon. Again, something that we'll extensively use today and in the future lessons. And also there is a technique that's commonly used to basically look for moving average crossovers, where a buy signal is issued when a shorter term moving average, whether it's a simple moving average or an EMA exponential moving average, regardless of that, a shorter moving average crosses above the longer term moving average is used as a signal to buy, and the opposite is used as a signal to sell. Now, let's also review the state of our portfolio after the 2 lessons that we had last week. We put on a couple of trades, and we'll do some trades today as well. Specifically, again, this is available to you if you connect your exchange account to the platform through the API. As you can see, we have basically 2 positions. We have Tether, that's just basically our cash, and we have CeeLo and Litecoin. Recall that Litecoin was the one that we put on in the last session. This position was, if we go to the screener, this was triggered by our moving average crossover trading strategy, where we used the EMA 12 crossover the EMA 50 moving average as a signal to get involved. So if you look at the chart here, right now we have a simple moving average of 200-day, but let's add the moving average 12, moving average EMA 50, right? So right here is where the crossover happened. Now, we bought it last week around 200 when it actually broke above the $200 resistance level. Looks like it was a failed break for now. But we also thought that the 200-day moving average, the red line here, would be a good dynamic support line. So we think that that support line will hold. But anyway, the bullish crossover happened around here, and then now the question is, now we're down about 5% so far. Actually, there's an interesting cool tip for you. Again, I think I demonstrated this last time. if you connect again your exchange account, then you'll be able to show your trades in the chart. So here we are. We bought 5 Litecoin units at about $200, and now it's 191 or so. So we're losing about 5% on that trade so far, but we're sticking with it. Now, I wanted to discuss the exit strategy. The exit strategy is either the crossover, the opposite of that crossover happens, right? When EMA 12 crosses below EMA 50. So it's the complete opposite of what the entry criteria was. But there's another modification that I suggest, is that when the price dips below EMA 50, that could be another trigger to get out of that trade. So either or. So let's set up those 2 alerts. To create an alert, we go to screen or signal filters. First, we say, okay, it's Litecoin that we specifically want to be alerted about. Add that to the filter. Now, the other criteria, right, was that the moving average, exponential moving average 12 is the one that we use, is below EMA 50. I add that. Okay, so that will alert us. Now, if I create an alert, I'll say LTC EMA 12 under 50 sell alert. Okay, so the system will alert me when that condition is true. And second alert I want to create, so you cannot combine those two, because when you add more criteria to the filter, there is an AND operator between them. So if you start layering on additional criteria, that will just further enhance that criteria. And so here we really need 2 different alerts. Either the EMA 12 is below EMA 50, I want to get out, or as I mentioned, the price is below EMA 50, I mentioned, right? Either one of those conditions happens, I want to be alerted. I may assess the trade and reassess the trade and make a determination whether to get out or not, but probably yes. Price under EMA 50. All right. So I wanted to complete that, because you use these alerts to your advantage to stay on top of the market, because once you have 10, 20 positions, it's going to be difficult to keep track of where you should be paying attention or getting out of the trade. And then again, these alerts, if you want to double check that you've created them, are under the alerts tab, under alerts management, right? Here are the 2 that we created. You can then later disable them or delete them, and the alert and notifications will appear here. So far, none. So that's the Litecoin trade with the crossover EMA 12 over EMA 50. And then the other one that we did was CeeLo, and that one's working out well. Now remember the conditions, and again, if you can, keep a journal of your trades of what were the conditions or reasons why we got in, and what would be the conditions or reasons that we would get out. There's a question here real quick. Is there a way to screen the price just before it touches the EMA 50 instead of touching the EMA 50? No, I'm afraid not. Good question though. The other trade that we have on still is CeeLo, as I mentioned, right? We did that exactly a week ago, and let's see what's the performance in the last week. If we click on the performance tab here, the performance in the last week, we're up about 24%. So now, if you recall, the reason we got involved, this was a different reason. This was not a moving average crossover. right? This, if you recall, was a situation where MACD signaled a buy, a sort of a bullish MACD crossover signal right here. So it was a couple days after that we got involved. On top of that, there was a resistance level at $6. If you look at the past trading here, right? Resistance level. Price touched $6 here, got rejected. Again here, then it broke through, came back. This $6 level is very critical right here. It struggled around it. It tried to break through it, and finally it did. So it was a couple of things that we looked at. It was the bullish MACD signal, which is down here. It was the fact that the price was above the 200-day moving average and therefore was in the uptrend, and that was confirmed here with our ratings. It was in a strong, or at least an uptrend across the board. And at the same time, visually, we saw that it broke through the $6 resistance. So we got involved here. Again, all these things increase the success rate of a trade. Certainly doesn't guarantee it. But what we're trying to do is just stack the chances in our favor with a few things that we layer on, and then that increases your success probability to 65 to 75%, and I think that's enough to make a decent profit over time. So we got involved here, as indicated in the chart. We bought 170 units of CELO at $6 and change, and now remember also that we thought, or I thought, that the $8 resistance level, right here, is our target, and so we're getting very close. And in fact, I would probably take half of my position off and let the other half ride, and close it when we get even closer to $8. And after that, I would just wait to see if we break through the $8, and then I'll jump back in. That will be a resistance breakout, sort of a trend trading, a momentum a trade, right? So I am going to go ahead and close half of my position now. Actually, I could have done it directly from my balances. Here, there's a little icon that says you want to trade it on Binance. Great. It'll pull up the pair and the appropriate exchange. And again, I have about 170 units of it. So let's just say we want to sell about 85 with the limit. Let's see, the best price right now is $7.64. So I'm going to sell for a little less than that to make sure it goes through 85. All right, so that's about half of my position. And oops, not buy, but sell, right? Send that through. All right, let's see. It's not in my open order, so it must have gone through. Yep, there it is. All right, so I half position closed. I also have an alert. If you recall in the last lesson, we also created an alert that says when the price is about 780, I'm going to get an alert and probably close the rest of the position. I could actually set up a limit order right now for the rest of the position right at 780. Let's go ahead and do that right now. It says that I want to actually sell it at 780. The rest of it, all right, it's limit sell, and it's just going to sit in my open orders until the price gets there. Wonderful. All right, so guys, so let's now get into today's lesson. Let me get on the right screen here. Fantastic. And just check if there's no questions. Super. So pullbacks in an uptrend or buying the dip. I think, again, conceptually, intellectually, it's relatively easy to understand. As you experience many times, when you look at certain coins that are trending up, prices don't go up in a straight line, right? There's always going to be these dips in an uptrend, dip, like we see in the Bitcoin chart here back in the springtime. And so what we're going to try is to find those coins that have that uptrend and are experiencing that dip, and try to identify where's that support area that we should be buying it at, where it's most likely to bounce off of. All right, hang on, someone's raising hands. All right, if you have any questions, just type it in. So the other concept that we'll talk about, and it's critical, is support and resistance. We've already kind of touched on it as we discussed the prior trades. Polarity is also an important concept that's going to help you tremendously with identifying support and resistance. Those concepts are very related. We'll talk about corrections, and we'll talk about setting stop loss levels for these trades as well. Okay, so what are the trading rules? The trading rules will be that we'll find altcoins in an uptrend that have had a 5% plus pullback. Call it correction, some call it consolidation, right? When a coin is trending up, it reaches a certain level where the existing investors who have bought it lower feel like, hey, it might be a fair price, and they start selling or maybe taking some position off, like I just did with CeeLo, or maybe trimming their positions, right? And that results basically in increasing selling pressure that results in a correction or a pullback or consolidation, whatever synonym you want to use. Now, the other way of identifying the support level is, or actually not even the support level, but the fact that this is a correction and not a complete reversal, is, and we'll demonstrate this, is that when the pullback happens with declining volume, okay? Here's the number 3 sort of trading rules, that the selling volume during the pullback is not increasing, but it's actually in fact decreasing. That indicates that the selling pressure is easing up. And so if the pullback is bigger, is that better for the trade? Not necessarily. I'd say it could be a small pullback, bigger pullback. We really need to see where the support area is. In some cases, the support area is far from the current cycle or swing high. In some cases, it's very near the current swing high. Okay. But I mean, I guess yes. I mean, generally speaking, you're right. If the pullback is deeper, and we and without breaking the rules of the stop loss, then yeah, the upside is greater. So a few ways to do that, to find the pullbacks in an uptrend on our platform. And let's now switch to the platform. And one way is to use the trend ratings, the short-term, medium, and long-term, on the signal summary. In fact, actually, our signal summary has this strategy predefined. Now, there's many ways to skin the cat and many ways to sort of find these opportunities. One of them is here on the signal summary under the strategy blocks section. Here, pullbacks in an up or down trend. Obviously, if you were going to short, then you look at the bearish setups, but in our case, we're looking to go long. we're looking for bullish setups. And in fact, we're looking for 1 day time interval. If you're trading on the lower time intervals, like an hour, you could use those links as well. But what this means is that the first one says pullback 1 day in an uptrend. That means that when I click on this link, I'll see coins that are in an uptrend, but are trading down for the last 24 hours. And that's the 1 day here. The second one, pullbacks with 1 week, is similar in that we're going to get in our results, we're going to get all the coins that are in an uptrend, but are down for the last week, okay? So let's go ahead and click on the second one. Let's see what happens, what kind of results we get. Now here again, I would probably modify this result by saying I want a minimum market cap so we don't get a bunch of tiny little caps. All right, so we're down to 7 items. All right, let's take a look. Now, oops, I meant to click on the charts, but now take a look at the criteria of this filter right here. Oops. Right here, okay? So this is the predefined criteria of this filter. So let's start with the second half. Short-term, medium-term, long-term trends are up. Not strong up. We're not being so uptight about it. We're saying it's enough that it's up or strong up. This will capture both up and strong up. But more interestingly, on the left-hand side here, you see that MACD is above MACD signal line. So there's a bullish MACD crossover, okay? Also says that 1 week performance is less than 0%. So that means it's negative in the last week. And also that RSI is below 70. So it means that it's not overbought, okay? And I know we haven't covered RSI yet. We will in the future lessons, but for now, just keep in mind that RSI is anywhere between 0 and 100, 100 being extremely overbought, 0 being extremely oversold. When it's extremely overbought, there's a tendency for it to pull back. When it's extremely oversold, there's a tendency for the price to bounce back. But in any case, let's see what we've got in this goodie bag here. Binance coin, that's interesting. Let's take a look at the chart. Get rid of these drawings here. Now, when you take a look at the chart, it's good to kind of zoom out, get rid of all the other indicators and noise, and zoom out and look at the big picture and say, okay, where is my support? Where is my resistance here? But first of all, I look at it, all right, the pullback is quite small here. But that's fine. Let's move on. Let's continue with this example for now. Where is my resistance here? My resistance is going to be somewhere here, right? So what is resistance, you ask? So that brings us to the other topic of this lesson. What is support and resistance? Well, support and resistance are areas where a lot of actions happens, right? That's where buyers versus sellers overwhelm one or the other group. You know, like example here, clearly when the price got up here after this tremendous run in August, it tried, and this is, by the way, about $500 if we zoom in. The buyers were not able to push it over. They tried again and failed. So the holders of the coin and other sort of market participants, maybe short sellers, said this is a $500 level, and often happens around round numbers, is where the buying dried up and the selling increased. The buyers were trimming their positions or completely exiting their positions. Then the sellers, sort of short sellers, started piling on as well and said, we think this is overbought here. this price, this coin is too expensive at these levels. Okay, so these are sort of psychological levels that actually manifest themselves in the price action, and after that happens a couple of times or 3 times, then that becomes the resistance points. We now know that 500 is going to be a level that's going to be tough to cross. Okay, so typically we look for levels that have had multiple touches, and were not able to the price was not able to break through above that. For a support level, it's the opposite, right? It's an area where when the price pulls back to a certain level, we've seen it bounce back because the buyers step up. And so psychologically, we can explain it as by an example. I mean, there's so many times when I'm sure you've seen a coin rise, and then you tell yourself, you know, I would love for that coin to just pull back. I would be all over it at 400 or 300, right? And that's what happens when it does pull back, and all those market participants who were left out in that early trend, perhaps, they're all over it. They're like, hey, you know, it pulled back to the level. I really liked it. I wanted that. I wanted to pull back to this level. So that's when the buying, starts up again. So in this case, and there could be multiple support levels, and sometimes the support levels get broken, and the next support level sort of holds. Like in this case, you know, I'd say the $400 seems like a pretty straightforward support area, right? It's it's held here, although then it was broken. It held here a little bit as well, not a little bit, but completely. In fact, this was one of those pullbacks and bounces from this level, right? But there's another support level that's a little higher if we pay attention, because I want to capture this support level here, as well as this one and this one. And this is why it's important to look at the big picture, because if I just look at the 3-month picture, I'm not going to see what happened in the springtime and what levels it actually bounced off of. And so it's important. Now I got 3 supporting data points here, that there is probably a support level here that looks like maybe around 450. And again, it's typically around the round numbers. About 450 is about right here. Now, it's never an exact point. It's the zone. Really, it's really what I should be drawing is really a rectangle like this. It's a zone, all right? It's a zone up here as well. So we've got to give it a little bit of room to breathe. Okay, now it's gotten really busy here, but I think you get the point. And so in this case with BNB, now I can zoom in a little closer. So we think that 450 is a support, the closest support zone. So now I zoom in a bit. Now this pullback is not quite to 450. I guess may have been right here. Let's see, the low was 459. Yeah, well, this would have been a great buying area, but we're a little bit late to that right here. It's a little higher than 450. It's about 460, but it's in that zone, right? So so we missed that. It's now at 480. I could put a limit order to buy it here, but let's continue searching for something that perhaps is ready. But that's the thought process and the workflow. We look, we run the screen, right? We started with the signal summary as a predefined screen. We get these results, and then it's up to us to find whether the price is at approximately the closest support zone, or perhaps the next one if it's broken the first one. So let's do a few more examples. The next one, new cipher. Wow, look at that candle. Looks scary, but let's give it a chance. Let's look at the 1-year graph. This must have been like a Binance listing or something that made the price go up from 30 cents to 225, that's almost a 10 multiple, but fair enough. But when you look at the big picture, this is actually very interesting. First of all, so it had a big breakout. All right, fair enough. The pullback that we're seeing here, notice the volume here. The volume is drying up. That was one of the conditions for the pullback and one of the conditions for looking for the support level, particularly for the pullback right here. As you can see, the red bars, as the price begin to correct and consolidate, pull back, the red bars are getting smaller and smaller. So the selling pressure is easing up. The sellers are drying, the selling pressure is drying up. The sellers are easing up. And in fact, the price is starting to flatten out here. And interestingly enough, if we look at the longer term trend or the longer term picture here, notice that it's easing up, or it's flattening out. The correction is finding support at a level where in the past was the all-time high, which is also a very common level. The prior high, oftentimes when broken, becomes the support. And this is another big and important lesson in our slides. Let's get back to that. Just a minute. When we skip ahead a few slides, we talk about polarity principle. Polarity principle means that the former support turns into resistance when broken, right? When the price breaks below support and then it tries to go back up, then that prior support is now resistance. Vice versa. The former resistance, once broken, turns into support, okay? So let's get back to this situation. So we have a polarity principle here because back in the early spring of this year, the price shot up all the way here and was rejected right here. This was all-time high and then just went down from there. Knowing that, the price then maybe a couple of weeks ago broke above that, risen all the way up to 225, and now it's come back. Now, the prior resistance level, which was this, about $1.12 or so, I mean, exactly where it is today. The prior resistance established by this all-time high back in February has become now the support. And we're seeing some increased level of buying, diminishing selling around this level. As you can see, the price is flattening out. So this, for me, is an interesting point to get involved. The downside for me, the next support level will be where we saw some prior resistance area. So that would be about 75 cents. So that would be about a 30% downside. But the upside, I think, will be back to these levels, about $2. Okay. So we could do this trade. We'll keep that in mind. Let's see the next one, or Keep Network, Syscoin. Interesting. We see a lot of big bars with a pullback, but let's try it. Syscoin. Syscoin I'm familiar with. Again, let's for now tune out the noise. Let's take a look at the big picture here. 1-year graph. All right. When you look at the 1-year graph, things don't look as maddening, as crazy, right? Because we see that it's been consistently in the last couple of months going up, pulling back, going up, pulling back, going up, pulling back. Now it's going up and now it's pulled back. Wonderful. Where's my support level? What do you guys think? Anybody has an opinion on where the support level is in this one? If you can see it, it is kind of small. Any takers on where the support level is? 24 cents, 36 cents, couple of answers. Thank you for that. I'd say the closest one is, you're both right, but the closest one is 36 cents, and the one after that is 24 cents. And why do I think it's 36 cents here, right? Okay, let's draw the line here. Well, because this was the prior resistance level. Look at this. This long wick, it stopped just around that zone. Here, a couple more, actually 3 or 4 wicks that stopped right there. So that was a resistance, has been resistance really until recently when it broke through it with huge volume. And again, the polarity principle says that prior resistance, once broken, becomes support. So that's why I think 36 cents or thereabouts is the first level of support. The next level, which is also a good suggestion, is about 24, yeah, 24 cents, 24, 25, because we've seen the price bounce off of that level several times. That level seems to hold right here, really, I mean, all the way from here. Now it's a zone, right? It's not exactly 24, but it's a zone right here. So yeah, 24 cents looks like a very robust support. I'm not sure if we'll get there. I don't, you know, I think that I like to be a little more aggressive and say, I'll be buying it here on this pullback to 36 cents as I zoom in a little bit closer. Because 24 cents, it would be wishful thinking. In fact, it is an important level, and my stop loss. So if I were to go into the trade here at 36 cents, which I would, my stop loss would be if the price dipped all the way down below the 24 cent level, because this is support. If I break below that, we're in trouble. We're in deep doo-doo. So that's about 36 to 24 cents is about 30% downside. And my upside, I don't know if you can see it, but this wick all the way up to 72 cents. So, you know, that may not be, that's not probably what I would play for, but I would probably say, yeah, up here, 50 cents, right? It's kind of where it topped off recently. It's also topped off here around that level. I wouldn't be as greedy as to say that it's going to go back to 72. So that's how I would structure this trade. And again, having this predefined screener that we utilized here, and we could go on, you know, to the next few charts and analyze those. Ooh, this looks interesting. Let's take a look at this. S fund. But we may have missed the bounce already. All right, let's tune out the noise. We don't need MACD. We don't need RSI. Let's look at the chart here. Okay, nice, right? Well, I wish we were here earlier, because you can see, you know, swing up, pull back, swing up, pull back. Interestingly enough, you know, it again, here is the resistance. Guys, some people don't do anything else, just play the resistance. The prior high right here was a resistance, and guess what? That's where we got rejected here. So in any case, now it's pulled back. It's pulled back to, yeah, the next support level. It's kind of, you know, sort of by the book, you know, because why was this support? The support level here was because it was prior resistance. Prior resistance from here, even this touch point was close. Okay, maybe I'm being aggressive. Maybe it's not $4.20, but it's really about $4, right? That makes really more sense. In fact, about $4 right here. So that actually has a lot more touch points and that's what it turned around. But either way, it's a zone, right? It's a zone. It's not going to be an exact level. So plus or minus here is where I would have said is a good buying opportunity on this pullback. Now we've already missed this pullback. It's bounced back. So this isn't one for us for now. I also wanted to show you a couple other ways of creating your own custom. We got some answers here. Support at $4.20. That's right, David. Good eye. A couple of other filters or custom filters to achieve more or less the same thing, but perhaps a different set of answers nevertheless. So again, let's create your own filter. And this time we're going to be a little more wishful in that we're going to say we want all those coins that are not just in an uptrend, but in a strong uptrend. Let's see what we get. Short term, medium term, strong uptrend, long-term trend, up strong. Now we're down to 183 items. I'm going to do a minimum market cap, a typical 50 million. All right, that reduces it down to 89. And we want the price to be down, right? We could do a day and say, okay, let's just say the daily performance last 24 hours is less than 0, or actually let's do minus 5%, okay? Now we're down to 5. Let's see what they are. Solana, okay. FIDA, Ampleforth, all right. But I want to do a weekly performance to be down 5%. All right, 5. Maybe they'll be the same ones. Oh, well, some of these are actually the same that I had in the prior screen, right? New Cipher, Keep Network was there, Syscoin as well, S Fund. All right, I didn't, but anyway, here is another one, another way. In this case, it didn't really produce a ton of different results. We can go back and adjust that again to just a one-day performance below minus 5% and see what is in the goodie bag here. Solana is down 5% from a day ago. Could be, but that's a small pullback. That's a small pullback. RGT looks like a bigger pullback in this picture. And Ampleforth looks interesting. Let's take a look at that. 1 year graph. Let's tune out the noise. We don't need RSI. We need even moving average, MACD. Let's see the big picture. Wow, interesting. Well, this price has just kind of been for the full year going sideways, more or less. Although the swings are plus or minus 50 or 100%. But in any case, you know, again, when we look at the big picture, we can see the resistance zone, right? Resistance zone. Right, well, resistance zone, definitely this one, because this was the prior high. In fact, maybe even all-time high. This time the price didn't even get as far as that, but the other resistance zones would have been here on the, oops, sorry about that. Would have been around here, which was probably around $1.80. But look, also interesting that the price had reversed or corrected here around that $2 sort of round number. But in any case, so where's the support here? Now, let's see if we can find the support. That's the more important question now. Although sometimes the resistance becomes the support, right? The support level, let's see, anyone can take a guess here. If you look at the chart, I mean, I see a couple of sort of touch points up here, this one that were, you know, this one here. So not a whole lot to go off of. $1.60 was someone's answer. Could be, but I don't know if I have enough supporting evidence. I missed one wick here. That could be it. This is one here. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Actually, you might be right. You might be right. This looks like maybe $1.80 right here. Maybe not quite 80, maybe $1.70-ish, but it is in that zone, right? I mean, if we're talking about a zone, we are approximately there. We see multiple touch points in the past that were resistance areas that can become now support areas. What I would do here, though, I would probably wait a couple of days to see if this support area really holds. Now, I may miss it. Maybe it'll bounce back hard and charge higher, but I'll be a little more cautious here. And I would like to see this selling pressure ease up, right? Let's zoom in a bit. The selling pressure ease up, and maybe a few days of declining volume, as we talked about the correction. If it's correction, we should see declining volume and the price staying around this area of $1.60, $1.70 or so. And if that happens, that would, to me, indicate that there are buyers stepping up in this area, and that we may see a resumption of an uptrend, and that might be a good buying area. So to me, the support area around this $1.60 is not clear or strong enough yet, the evidence that the price will stop here. All right, so that was another way of looking for these opportunities. And then the last one that I have on my list here is this one here. So again, we'll start with an uptrend. Short term, this case, I'm satisfied with an uptrend as up, not strong up for all of these. And again, play around. You may loosen or tighten the criteria. You may say, okay, I'm okay with just the medium and long-term trends being strong up, but the short-term could be up or neutral, right? Because the short-term trend with the swings up and down can change quickly, but perhaps the longer-term trend is intact and it's still up, and you're okay with the swings. So, this is one of 3 examples, but realistically, what I want you to get to a point where you're comfortable testing and experimenting yourself, and in the results, you will see whether this is, an uptrend with a pullback or not. What this tool will help you is just narrow down the results, because looking through 1,600 or 2,000 charts is impossible, right? So this tool is just making you a bit more efficient in finding these opportunities. And so feel free to come up with your own screens. I still want minimum market cap of 50 million. And here I'm going to get a little fancy in that I want the 1 week performance to be above 0%. So I want the price to be higher than it was the last week, but I want the last 24 hours performance to be down minus 5%. Be careful. Make sure you use the minus if you're looking to indicate minus 5%. Now let's see what we get. 6. Oh, let's check it out. And by the way, you can, of course, as you recall, you can save these filters, right? So you can come back to these later. So this is going to be my pullback in uptrend 1 filter, and then you have it among your saved filters to use in the future. So now we've got a few more new names. Solana is among them. Ampleforth we already looked at. Flux, let's check it out. All right. Again, we don't need moving average 50. We don't care about the RSI or even MACD. Let's tune that out and let's look at flux. Well, looking at it right now, there's not much of a pullback. And that's maybe because of the criteria of that I put in, which is the 1 week performance being up. That may not work that well. Let's see at others here. Oh, Sol, now that looks kind of interesting. There is definitely a pullback here. Let's look at the bigger time frame. Wow, wacky. Didn't do anything for a long time, and now it's just exploded and pulled back. Now it's pulling back to an area. That 1 year picture makes a little more sense now, right? Okay, now we got a little more information to analyze here, where potential support areas. Looks like we've kind of blown through a couple of support areas. Frankly, I would have thought that the 24 cents or so would have been the past resistance turned into support, but we've blown through that. Could be good, could be in our favor. In fact, I think we're approaching a decent support area here. Sometimes it pays to wait a little bit and be patient. And that right here, about, call it 15 cents, is where we've seen support in the past. Now the major support is down all the way down here, but you know, we'll see if you get there. But one of the problems in this picture, if you pay close attention, is that the selling pressure is not easing up. This doesn't quite check off the checklist that we have, right? Look at these red bars down here. They're not getting smaller. If anything, they're getting bigger. The selling pressure is not easing up. This is not quite lining up with our definition of a correction as opposed to a reversal. So for now, I wouldn't touch that. Again, I would wait to see if it finds support, where it does, where it's with these down candles become smaller and the volume dries up. That might be my indication that we've found support. It may be around this area, but I wouldn't bet on it just now based on the information we have. The other support area could be is the 200-day moving average, the red line here. That tends to be a solid dynamic support level, but I would wait. Perhaps I could create an alert for a price alert to alert me that, hey, we're there. We can go ahead and do that, just so you know, just so you see how it's done. But I wouldn't touch it yet. Which one was it? It was solve, right? Yeah, I think it was solve. So let's just create, oops. Let's go ahead and create. All right, let's start a new tab here and filter that says instrument is solve. And I want to be alerted when the price gets under $1.60, right? Below $1.60, value $1.60. Let's just say, sure, let's get $1.60. Price, I'm sorry, I said above. No, it's below. That's good. All right. It looks like the price is already below that. Price is below. Oh, I'm sorry, not $1.60. It's 16 cents. Silly me. 16 cents. If I'm looking at the right one, right? Yeah, that's it. So it's not $1.60, it's 16 cents. All right, let's do that again. Price is below 16 cents. Let me know. All right, I click on done. I click on the alert and it says solve under 16 cents buy. Great. So I have that alert. All right, guys, let's see what else we have. We've got about 4 minutes left. Let's put on a trade. So let's go back to some, by the way, if you keep these tabs open, then you'll have all the results ready to go. Okay, so that's a nice little feature that you can keep opening more and more tabs. You don't have to close the ones that you have, and that way you can go back to them. I think the new cipher is what we liked, right here. I think this is the situation where what we liked, or I liked. It was getting back to that $10, $12 level where I thought it was finding decent support, although it looks wacky. But when you really look at it on the long-term basis, that's basically prior level resistance that now is becoming support, and looks like the volume on the way down has diminished, has dried up. The selling pressure is easing up. We see a couple of small green candles. The buyers are starting to step up. Hey, I could be wrong, but I will definitely set a stop limit order at, I'd say it's about 80 cents here. If it goes below 80 cents, I'm going to be out of that trade. So that's about 25% downside, but my upside, I'd say, is about $1.75, which from these levels is about 50% upside. So it's 50% upside, 25% downside. So that's about 2 to 1 reward to risk ratio, which I think you should have a minimum of 2 to 1 reward to risk ratio. A question is whether you can set up the alerts to email you. Yes, that's automatically the default case. You will receive emails as well as the notifications, and in the future you'll also be able to receive Telegram notifications as well. That's coming shortly. So let's go ahead and do this trade. And by the way, I'm going to do one trade, but realistically, you should have many trades, right? Because even with hypothetically 65-70% success rate, you're going to have 30-35% losers. And so it's really important for the statistics to really work out. You need a relatively large sample of trades. So that means you got to do 10, 20 trades. And that's when the statistics will over time work out. I don't have time to do right now 20 trades here, but just to illustrate this particular strategy. Oh, I forgot the ticker. My bad. Let's go back to screener. What was it? Oh, NU. All right. Let's see if it trades on Binance. I'm not 100% sure. It does. Oh, wait, does it? Oh, yes, it does right here. Okay. So I've got it here. I can look at the chart again if you wanted to. We actually think that $13 or so where it is right now, I think is actually a good entry. So I'm not going to get too fancy or too cute about my entry point here. I'm still going to use the limit price. Here's the order book. The order book looks fine. The bid-ask spread is tight. So there's decent volume, decent liquidity. That looks good. My best price right now that I could buy for is this. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm happy with even a slightly higher price. And I want to buy about $1,000 worth. So that's, let's see, at the price of 13 cents, sorry, $1.13, that's about called 900 units. All right, so limit buy, that's my limit price. I don't want to pay more than that. And let's go ahead and send the trade. Trade has gone through because it shows me in my balances that I'm a proud owner of about 900 units of new cipher. All right, well, let's see how this pullback in an uptrend works out. But again, this is a really one of my favorite strategies, frankly. It's easy to understand. I think it's relatively easy to execute. The tricky part is finding that support. And again, it could be multiple support levels. By the way, I'm going to also set, before I forget, I'm going to put as I mentioned, a stop limit order. A stop limit order means that when the price, what I want to do is stop limit, stop sell, is when the price gets to 80 cents, right? I want to be out of that trade. It's hard to see right here, or maybe if I do a 1-year chart, no, not great. But in any case, on the long-term chart basis, it was more evident that the 80 cents was sort of the next support level. If it gets below that, I want to be out. So so if it gets to 80, let's say 75 cents, then I want to sell it at a minimum of 70 cents, okay? And I want to, yes, sell the whole position, which is, well, not quite 900 anymore because of the fees. So 899 units I want to sell if this trade goes against me. All right, so let's play this. Let's place this order. That's in my open orders. Okay. But again, pullbacks in an uptrend, I think great strategy, particularly in sort of the bull market that we are in right now. Of course, you could completely reverse it. You could do pullbacks in a downtrend if you want to short things, and we will demonstrate it in future lessons. Just as valid of a strategy, just upside down. When a coin is trading down and it bounces up to a resistance level, then that's where you short it, because the chances are that we'll resume the downtrend that it was in previously. All right, any questions before we wrap up? Does Altfins connect to Voyager Exchange? No, we do not connect to Voyager Exchange. I think Voyager is a broker, not quite an exchange, but no, we don't. Unfortunately, no. Any other questions, guys? Well, it was a pleasure. Again, hopefully you take some of these tips and tools back to your tool belt and start using them. Hopefully it should streamline your process of identifying trading opportunities. Again, trading with the trend and buying some of these pullbacks, identifying those support zones can be tricky. Again, keep in mind that the polarity principle is very useful in that when the prior resistance is broken, it becomes oftentimes the support level on the way down. So use that as well. I will share the notes. We will share the notes on the education section. So you'll be able to download these notes as well and rewatch the replay of this lesson as well. So we'll see you on Thursday at the same time when we'll talk about some momentum trading strategies. Everyone, have a great day and good luck trading. Cheers.